Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cyber Planet. My name is Karim Chata, and I am your host. On today's episode, we have a very special guest from Kenya, who is a manager at one of the largest financial institutions in Kenya. He has been in the industry for more than a decade, and his experience lies within vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, offensive security content creation, technical research, networking, capture the flag. He has published almost 37 articles relating to the solutions that he has managed to solve in CTFs. He's owned 90 systems, also in capture the flags. I mean, his CV says it all. The person we are talking about, his name is Michael Ikua. Mr. Michael, karibu sana.
Hi, Karim. Thank you for the very nice introduction. It's lovely being here on your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. So, Mr. Mike, can you please tell us about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll start by giving my names. So, my name is Michael Ikua, and as Karima said, I'm based in Kenya. Currently, I'm a cybersecurity professional, and I focus on offensive security. Other things about me, I work in a financial institution here in the country. I have uh, quite a good number of years of experience, and I think I like all things offensive security as of now. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's my brief intro, more or less professional intro. Uh, yes.
Definitely. So, how do you get started in cybersecurity?
Personally, my journey into cybersecurity was, I would call it abrupt because I have a background in technology, the usual computers interaction and so on.
Yeah.
But when I'm in university, I majored in telecommunications and informations engineering.
Yeah.
So up until so the course takes around 6 years, and up until my fourth year is when I was attending various conferences in school because I was part of the computer club in the uni.
Yeah.
I came across a conference called Africa Hackon. So I was interested because at the time I was just attending these events just to learn what they have to teach you in technology. And
Mm.
so this event, actually, what happened was,
Yeah.
um, our school had been invited to USIU. They were having a hackathon. And
Yeah.
back then, my idea of a hackathon is where you go and do programming. So you write some code, present a solution, and so on.
Yeah.
So when we went to USIU, we realized actually there's two parts to the hackathon. There's a CTF, and there is the hackathon itself that the developers are being given like a challenge to solve and so on.
Yeah.
So I was like, at the moment, yes, I have interest in writing code, but I've never done anything to do with a CTF. So I decided, let me give it a try. So I gave it a try. It went really horrible. I was not very good at it, but I think the facilitators were giving us hints. So because they were giving us hints,
Yeah.
and also combining that with the technical information, you have some high level knowledge about Linux, how to use the command line. We managed to at least take position one, even though the competition was not stiff. I think we were all junior or beginners at that point, everyone who was participating in the CTF. So the
Yeah.
hints are the ones that helped us. So then after this CTF hackathon event, they said the winners get tickets to the next Africa Hackon conference. So that's how I
Yeah.
managed to attend the Africa Hackon conference. So if it was not for that hackathon, I wouldn't have landed into this. So then I went for the event, listened to the talks, interacted with people. It was very, very informative and very interesting. And then, when those guys were giving their presentation, so you see the usual, Dr. Bright,
Yeah.
there was Jade, other guys there, Trunsky, and so on. So they were
Yeah.
giving some very interesting presentations, and it was quite interesting to see this, and people actually, this was their career. So I was like, okay, if
Yeah.
this can make you money, then why not give it a try?
Why not?
Yes. So that's how I started. I joined their WhatsApp group, and slowly by slowly, I started the journey. And since I was in school, the best I could do
Mm,
was CTFs. That was the only hands-on thing I could do to learn.
yeah,
So started doing Linux, playing CTFs here and there, downloading VMs. So that was when I was heavy on VirtualBox, just downloading those ISO files, mounting them,
yeah,
and running the VMs from VanHub. And that's how I started.
yeah,
So my journey was pretty, it was abrupt. So it was now when I was in my fourth year, and then after that 1 year, when I was, that time the group was quite active. So you're very keen on seeing what people are talking about. And then over
yeah,
time, I think in the next 1 year or two towards my graduation, I decided now, since I'm going now out in the field and I need to pick a career path, and the engineering career
yeah,
path was not looking very good, I decided,
yeah,
let me just focus on cyber. So I did my CTFs,
yeah.
moved into now writing some write-ups, which is what
Mm,
I don't know. I don't remember where the idea came from. I think possibly it was a recommendation from those guys who was asking ways to just keep improving.
yeah.
And the write-ups helped me land my first job now after graduating. So that's how my journey was in a short nutshell. Yeah.
I guess majority of us initially started out with VanHub because I remember
Hmm.
even back in the days I started out with VanHub, downloading the VMs, setting up
Hmm.
Oracle VirtualBox. That's how I got started, and then later on I transitioned to doing the technical write-ups for the CTF solutions. I was advised by one of my mentors that I should, try my level best to uh, write on what I've learned because people are going to see what you're doing. So generally, that's how I started out initially. But
Mm.
coming back to you, you're a manager at a financial institution, as we mentioned previously. Now,
Hmm.
what are some of the responsibilities and objectives of your role?
Okay. So first thing is to just move away the name manager. It's just a title. It doesn't mean that like this big, this big position that I have. It's just
You are
a title that
on.
they have. So, but I mainly do cybersecurity audit,
Okay.
and so my understanding is, so in the in internal audit. So I'm part of the internal audit function. So this is
Yeah.
meant to audit the effectiveness of various controls that have been put in place by the organization. So now specifically cybersecurity controls. So that's my main job basically. Um, Audit and provide an independent view of the currently operating controls. So are they properly designed, and are they
Okay.
properly operating as they should be? So for example, if they have a malware, antivirus or EDR, so is it operating as it should be? So if you
Mm,
throw in some malware, is it going to get caught? Those kind of things. So you can
yeah.
think of it as, so my background is when I started my career, as I did my CTFs, I began to get into pen testing, which is now the focus of my offensive security. So
Yeah.
it's more or less similar things. So you're just more or less testing the
Mm,
effectiveness of controls. So if they say we've put a firewall, is it true? Is it working?
yeah.
Those kind of things. Are you going to reach internal systems from the internet? Is that true?
Yeah.
If they are saying they are monitoring this kind of attacks, you need to confirm that.
Mm, yeah.
So anything cybersecurity based is what I am tasked to test, or my day-to-day responsibilities, and then report on that. So if the effectiveness of the controls is good, then we provide assurance and say yes. Currently, we are give them a thumbs up. So the guys who are doing the cybersecurity day-to-day work, we give them a thumbs up. We tell them, yes, you guys are doing a good job. If they are falling short in some areas, then they have the opportunity to improve.
Okay, wonderful. And
Mhm.
do you manage a team as a manager, or is it just a single position for you?
Yes, so it's just a title. So for me, I'm an independent contributor. I'm not
Oh, okay.
managing anyone. So previously, I used to do so, but here where I am not managing any
I've
teams.
yeah, I've interviewed a lot of cybersecurity experts for a
Mhm.
pretty long time, and one of the most important thing that has usually popped up more than once is soft skills. Now, how important are soft skills when it comes to your role? And
Mhm.
if you can give examples of the soft skills that are are going to be needed more in this role, it will also be beneficial to our listeners.
I think for the moment, the main soft skill that I'm mostly using on day to day is documentation. So
Okay.
writing a lot. So
Hmm.
giving clear descriptions of what you found, clearly demonstrating the impact of the issues you have, and also providing ample evidence.
Hmm.
So more or less, it's for me, it's mainly documentation.
What
I
about
wouldn't say.
okay,
Sorry,
sorry.
yeah, go on. Yeah, so I wouldn't say yes, the whole presentation is good, but for me, I don't do the presentation myself, so I don't rely much on presentation skills. So, but
Okay.
maybe in the future I'll end up requiring them. But for now, mainly I rely on the soft skill of documentation a lot.
Okay, I guess you've already answered my question because I was about to ask about presentation skills because at the end of the day, apart
Mm-hmm.
from writing the report, I
Mm-hmm.
usually also on my side anyway, based on my experience, I go and do a little bit presentation on the IT department and also to the decision makers and the board members in general. So I think you've already answered my question. Now, following up that question, what are some of the qualifications are required for this role?
I would say, uh, let's just say the general. If you think of pen testing, the skills that you might think of, so good knowledge, especially of technology. So in this case, it's good knowledge of your networking environment, good knowledge of operating systems, good knowledge of applications. So in this case, web application, mobile application, um,
Mhm.
and then also good knowledge of cybersecurity. So if you because you also need to give recommendations. So if I say that your application is failing on this and that, so what recommendations should I be giving?
Yeah.
So yeah, so good knowledge on cybersecurity, especially the concepts around protecting um, the network, so network security. For me, I typically say that you need to have both. So you have the foundational skill. So let's say if we are focusing on networks, so you have knowledge of networking. So you know what a switch is,
Yeah.
what a router is,
Mm.
and how they operate, the IP, what is subnets, and so on. That foundation, and
Yeah.
then now you can go into network security, which is more or less just um, identifying the controls you can put into defeating certain attacks. So if someone is doing like ARP spoof or something,
Yeah.
what are the strategies to mitigate this? And sometimes the strategies are vendor based because sometimes you need like a solution. So it
Yeah.
depends on also the situation. Sometimes the issue can only be fixed by having a solution, not really a
Mhm.
configuration. Because if you think about it, something like if you have an operating system and then you have to protect against malware,
Yeah.
you're not going to do that by setting certain configurations. You just need to install a solution, an EDR, an antivirus.
Mm.
So yeah, so that kind of overview knowledge of how the landscape is and how you can protect it.
Okay. Now, moving along with the other question, following up, I think
Hmm.
it's going to be a build up on the qualifications.
Mm.
What certifications do you think will be suited for this role?
Okay, so certification wise, I know these days it has been a very huge requirement in
Debate.
some places.
Yeah.
But generally, I would say for me, I have an OSCP, so I would say that's a good start. But I think at the bare minimum, maybe let's say EJPT or the CEH. I know CEH
Yeah.
is not very recommended, but
Yeah.
for me, I usually say if you have the opportunity of doing a certificate, just do it.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say, okay, if it was me shortlisting, I would say OSCP, ECPPT, EJPT. I mean, there's so many certifications you can have, CRTP, CRTE, more basically anything that can prove that you have some good technical offensive
Yeah.
skills. So it can be any of those. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one like OSCP, but you can have the other alternatives. So CRTP, CRTO, CRTE, the
Yeah.
ones from ELAN security that I mentioned, ECPPT, EJPT. If you
Yeah.
have at least one or two of these ones, you should be good to demonstrate your skills. But also, if you are not able to do the certifications, because sometimes you can be poor at certifications, but you have the skills because it's
Yeah.
exam. So if you are struggling with that front, maybe if you have issues with finance, you can just
Mm.
find other ways of demonstrating skill because that's at the core of it. A certification is to demonstrate that you have the skills. So we are more
Yeah.
or less trusting the certification body to show us that you have the skills. And sometimes not all the certification bodies can effectively do that.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to demonstrate your skills, and this can be in a variety of ways, you can be a trainer, you can be someone who writes blogs posts, plays CTFs.
Yeah.
You can have also prior experience. Sometimes if you build up your experience without doing the certifications, but you build up your experience from a place where they did not require certifications, but they gave you experience, you maybe did it for a number of years, then that's demonstration enough of having the skills.
Mm.
Yeah,
Now,
that's how I look at it.
okay. Coming to let me say a follow-up question on the certification itself. What's
Hmm.
your perception when it comes to the free certifications? Because we know there are some certifications, for example, from Cybery, where they are free.
Hmm.
I remember one student came to me and asked me that question, that what's your perception on free certifications? Are they also valuable? Can they also add value on your CV? How does it look like in terms of the recruiter?
Hmm.
So I don't know what's your perception on that.
I would say they are good for someone who is junior because they demonstrate a willingness to pursue the career and a willingness to learn. But at
Yeah,
some point, it will stop giving you any mileage. So,
yeah,
because
true.
the problem with the free ones is you cannot prove that this person really did it. You could have just logged on to the platform, clicked next, next, next until completion, and you are done.
Yeah,
So the it's difficult to say that okay, fine, you have this free certification, but how do we prove that you actually sat through the course and you actually have the knowledge? So
mm,
it's good for beginner in your when you're getting entry level, but once you do that, once you overcome that hurdle of getting your entry level position, then you should go for a certificate that will demonstrate your skill. And
yeah,
also another aspect to the free certification is sometimes those are personal certifications. They're not for show off because at the end of the day, if you choose to pursue something, there's a probability that you learn something new. So
yeah,
you might be the kind of person who wants to learn something new, and in that case, you can do the free one without worrying about showcasing it because you are in the pursuit of knowledge. But if you're in the pursuit of both, so for example, now you want knowledge and also have proof of demonstrating skills, then you
Yeah.
find one that is going to be the most effective at that, which is now one of those ones that you have to pay for, and they will give you an exam, and they will grade you and give you the results.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I think about those free ones. The mileage will
Eh,
take you a bit forward, but not very far.
Not far. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm,
I guess
mhm,
we I agree with your explanation on that. Now,
mhm.
coming to your role, what does your typical day look like as an audit manager?
Okay, so my day typically looks like first a bit of research around the area of audit. So it depends. We might be auditing a whole system that was recently deployed, or we could be looking at a process that has been in practice for a while.
Mhm.
So first is reviewing the audit area, so getting all the necessary information. If it's servers or policies, we get them and understand the area, and then from there, it's now doing the technical stuff. So scanning, looking for loopholes, and so what typically guides our process is risks and controls. So
Mm.
I actually recently just joined the audit function. So for me, the approach, the pen testing approach, is not really how we go about things. We are guided by risks and controls. So you look at possibly the risks which the organization has pinpointed. Of course, you can contribute your own risks, but there's those ones that the organization has pinpointed, and they have applied controls. So
Okay.
you audit those risks against the controls that they have implemented, and you are trying to see, is the control if functioning effectively? Was the control designed effectively as well? So we have operational effectiveness and design effectiveness,
Mhm.
because you can say maybe the control is to buy a solution, but they did not design the solution properly. So you just have an expensive toy. So something like that. So those are
Right.
the kind of things we do. So that's the day to day. So looking at the risks, the controls, are they running effectively, and then also now mixing some pen testing inside there, which sometimes may not directly be uh, like the pen testing aspect allows to bring in some out of the box thoughts into the process, so that we
Yeah.
can maybe report some risks that may not have been thought about.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm,
Now,
mm,
when it comes to things like CTF and also landing your first role in cybersecurity, what's your input on that? Because a lot of people have different perception with CTFs. Others they say that CTFs are not good because they are just games. Others would
mhm.
say CTFs, is a good place to start off where you could practice, your technical skills without getting on the wrong side of the law and things like that. So I just want to get your perception and what would be your advice for newbies in terms of CTF?
I would say at the moment CTFs are everywhere, which is now another issue. Sometimes information overload can be a negative. What I
Mhm.
would say is, first thing is identify what you want to get out of a CTF. Because as you said, sometimes they are games, and you can play games for fun.
Yeah.
So identify what you want to get out of a CTF. If you want to do a CTF for skills building, then you have to be very intentional about it. Pick the platforms carefully, or go deep and as wide as possible, because you will discover a lot of things by going into the unknown. So that's how I approached it when I was doing things. I was just going, any CTF that is there, I jump on it. If there is any new area that I've never explored before, I'll go
Yeah.
and give it a shot. So that's one approach. You can just go all in, do any CTF, and then over time you'll come to realize what you particularly enjoy. So because
Mm.
there's a lot of categories, so you can look at forensics, you can look at web applications, you can look at mobile applications, you can look at operating systems and the servers,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You can look at binary exploitation, reverse engineering, malware analysis. So if you go in blind and open, you might land in one of these areas that is going to interest you.
Mm.
And then the other thing is now, if you look at what do I want to get out of it. So if I want to use the CTF maybe to progress my career, then if you look at the current, let's say, corporate environment or the job market, you might realize chances of you being a reverse engineer might be low. So you might push this reverse engineering CTF aside. But if you
Yeah.
see, okay, the currently SOC analysts are very in demand. So if I go forensics, DFIR,
Yeah.
type of CTFs, I go log analysis, I go traffic analysis, those kind of things, memory dumps, then I have a shot at this CTF helping me in my career. So that's how. So those are two ways of looking at it. And then the other one is you can do it for fun. I mean, and if you're doing it for fun, then that means you're not going to exert a lot of effort. When you have some free time, you play some CTFs. The outcome would be you will either learn something, it will be too hard, you give up because you're doing it for fun, you're not really trying
Yeah.
to push yourself. Or if it's an easy CTF, then you might win some prizes, because if you end up completing a lot of the challenges quite quickly and go up the leaderboard, you can win some prizes. As Locally, the prizes are really good, especially things like some expensive certifications. So if you win a voucher to do a CEH, that's money you didn't have to put into the CERT or OSCP or
Yeah.
any other thing that maybe you won. So the all those outcomes have a good. I mean, all those paths have a good outcome.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
how can someone get to the level that you are in right now,
Mhm.
as a cybersecurity audit manager? Because obviously, at one point they're going to start as a junior, but
Mhm.
I'm sure a majority will want to get to that level where they're a leader, where they're making an impact in the industry. So, do you have any roadmap for that?
I would say just keep, once you start, just keep going, because it's like a domino effect. Once you hit your first year of experience, second year of experience, then the rest just flows, because you naturally, when you're doing the job, you start getting experience and you get good knowledge.
Mm.
So at some point it becomes effortless, the whole becoming better, because if you land a good job that allows you to learn stuff it's challenging you every day, then that
Yeah.
means by default you learn every day, you learn something new and you get a variety of challenges. I would
Yeah.
say just be consistent, don't give up. You'll find some hard things along the way. You just keep going and demonstrate good skills when you're doing your job. So when you land your, let's say, role, execute to your best, and it will pay forward in your career as you progress. Because I think something I've noticed in cybersecurity, and also I think information security as a whole, is the years of experience end up being a very strong bargaining chip when you are looking for career progression. Because
Yeah.
the more you see more systems, the more they trust you, and so
Mm.
on. Mm.
Interesting. Now, on your opinion, what are some of the biggest cybersecurity threats facing organizations today?
I think one, I would say insiders. I think insiders have become very big threats, because technologies that are protecting the perimeter are very effective these days. And
Mm.
the network segregation, I've seen guys are doing a pretty good job. So I think one of the threats is a lot of insider lapses, because once someone is in the door, then they're free game. Like you
Yeah.
you struggle to get into the door, but once you're in Ukondani, it's just open. They're not doing nothing because they spend a lot of effort just protecting the perimeter. So I think
Yeah.
internally is where there's a lot of risk, such that things like when you hear about how attacks are carried out, you find someone was using TeamViewer and then they had sold access or they were coerced into doing that, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So the internal side is pretty risky in terms of
Oh.
threats.
And what about phishing?
I think phishing is a real threat, but I think it depends on the level of the organization also.
Okay.
Because in the last few years, I think the phishing game has become quite a struggle, especially when you're dealing with these robust email solutions like Outlook or Office 365. I
Mm.
mean, they will scan the hell out of your email before it even lands. So it becomes a lot of effort, and you find a lot of effort, and that one email bans your whole operation. So
Okay.
I think the phishing game it's still there. I don't say that it's not, but the risk of it has gone quite down, especially if there's an organization that is doing proper awareness.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
if the guys are not in the level where they can install those appliances or pay for those solutions, then phishing will be very effective because if you don't have anything scanning your incoming emails, uh, humans are very easy to manipulate at some point. So once the email lands in the inbox, now the chances of it getting a victim on the other end are high. So the phishing becomes difficult in bypassing those email controls. But once it lands, then the chances of success become high.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now, I came across your profile and I
Mhm.
realized that you are doing a lot of things at once. So you're a cybersecurity manager, at the same time, you're a co-founder, at the same time, you're a CTF player. So how do you manage all this all together?
I would say it's because the rest are just like part-time stuff, so it's not something that is I'm fully committed to. So
Mm.
that means that I can juggle them without problems. So the co-founding you're talking about is besides Nairobi, which is one of our local conferences that we are trying to work to support the community. And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it can get challenging, especially when you're planning for the event. But otherwise, I would say it's not that heavy that I would struggle to balance. And for CTFs, it's at the point where I'm at, I just do it leisurely when I can on the
Yeah.
weekends or some evenings here and there, even though my participation has gone down because the return on investment for me now is a bit low as compared to before. But I still
Mm.
enjoy a casual CTF here and there. So it's manageable.
Well, it could be manageable to you, but not to other people. So it all depends.
Yeah, so yeah, it depends on how much time you're exerting yourself. Because for me, when
Yeah.
initially I was playing a lot of CTFs, but now because the ROI has gone lower,
Mm.
I don't need to do the CTF. I can do so right now. I'm focusing on doing a certification, so I won't play the CTFs as much. So that's why I'm saying
That's
it's
smart. Yeah.
manageable because uh, I'm not actively trying to play a lot of CTFs. So I think if
Not
your
like
goal is to
before.
play a lot of CTFs, then it becomes a challenge to manage. And at
Yeah.
that point, you're like, if you're in that phase of doing those CTFs, you just forget about sleep and just do the CTFs.
Yeah, that's very true. But
Mhm.
also on that note, I'm trying to understand. Yes, you're managing your time very effectively, and I'm sure on the other side there's your social circle, meaning your family, your friends. How do
Mhm.
you give them your time when it comes to, everything that you're doing? Because if you're doing cybersecurity, it's also very demanding.
Mhm.
Now, how do you balance between work life and what you love to do with, your social life, your friends, family, etc.? Are there any tips that you want to share?
Honestly, I don't have any tips. I think the balance was lost a long time ago when we joined the industry. There's honestly, I don't think you can balance. There's no balance. It's either you work or you don't. So I would say my social life is pretty shallow. Like I can meet
Okay.
with my friends maybe once a month because of how our schedules are not always in line.
Mm,
So mainly my social life is just with my family, I would say. That's my
okay.
social life. For friends, yeah, it's very the numbers are very low. That's, as I said, like once a month when I'm feeling excited to go outside or do something. But other than that, uh, I'll be on my laptop a lot.
So does that
Yeah.
mean even when you're home, you'll also still be working and trying to, combat cyber threats and all that?
Yeah, yeah, you have to, your mind is always alert on things. So you have ideas, you come across a lot of new research, and you have to just keep yourself up to date.
Yeah.
So for me, I accepted that reality that the social life balance is going to take a hit, and it is what it is because
Yeah.
for me, I'm not I would say I'm not like a hungry for that social interaction. So
Ah, okay.
the little time I get it, I get satisfied. So I wouldn't feel like I'm missing out on anything because I haven't like socialized in a month or something.
Yeah.
Let's say I
So,
don't know, maybe I've become lazy. I don't know. Sometimes when you're lazy, you realize that I'm just giving myself consolation, but maybe I'm just lazy to to meet people. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, so sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's very easy. It is very convenient to chill on your PC and read
yeah.
and watch videos than going out. Going out these days is like a lot of effort. So
Yeah, very true.
Mhm. Mm.
And it can also be a financial constraint also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think capitalism has won that game. They know.
Now, before we go,
Mhm.
I'd like to understand, how do you stay up to date in the industry?
Uh, I am active on Twitter, so I will read a lot of tweets from industry professionals. I have subscribed to a variety of newsletters, so I get some updates here and there.
Okay.
And let's say the WhatsApp groups, so it's not very robust. So WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
So the Twitter for me, I think let's say 80% updates is on Twitter. So you see about CVEs on Twitter, they drop
Yeah.
there quite fast.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's what I'll say. And then GitHub here and there because I use GitHub. So if there are some CVEs or code being dropped, I look at
Yeah.
GitHub and then
Yeah.
doing some certifications here and there, some short courses or just reading a lot of blog posts
Yeah.
and books. So I also read books. If
Okay.
you go on Telegram, you can find some good books over there.
Okay.
Yeah, so also reading
Thank you
books.
for thank you for the pointers. Now, finally, I know you're very busy. I don't want to take much of your time. Can you please give us your
Mhm.
final thought?
My final thoughts on the industry, on the profession, what specifically?
All of the above.
Okay. I would say then my final thoughts are cybersecurity is quite a demanding career, especially when you're starting out. Over time, it gets easier because you can manage
Mm,
things. So initially, it gets demanding. So you just have it's either you accept the commitment or you don't.
yeah.
But
Mm,
either way, you're going to need to put in a good amount of hours
yeah.
in whichever field you are, whether it's forensics, blue team, red team, GRC. I don't think there's anyone who can claim they have it soft because of
Yeah, true.
how things evolve, how technologies change, how people
Mm.
adapt. Because
Yeah,
people behaviors also play a lot into how cybersecurity will be effective. Because
mm.
maybe today people are being fished on email. Next week people will be fished on social media, Instagram,
Yeah,
whatever, TikToks and
yeah.
everything. So the landscape is changing. Uh, so all I can say is we have to adapt and be ready to just keep learning and keep pushing.
Thank you very much for that.
Mhm.
So before we call it an end, I just want to give a little bit of a recap
Mhm.
so that I think we can just have a little bit broader understanding of what we talked about from the beginning till the end. So for you, Mr. Mike, he started off with his background in IT before getting into cybersecurity, and then he attended some cybersecurity conferences, which is Africa Hacon. He mentioned that, participated CTF competitions, and also got into writing the technical solutions on how he solved the challenges. So that's how he got started into cybersecurity. So for his role, which is a cybersecurity manager, which he himself says it's just a title, but some of the tasks that he does is number one is audit, where he checks the effectiveness of the security controls, which are example EDRs, firewalls, IDPSs. How effective are they when it comes to detect cyber threats? When it comes to soft skills, which are touch based on that, the most important soft skill he mentioned in his role specific, because different roles are going to require different soft skills. But for him is the most important one is documentation as for now, but also in the long run, he sees that presentations are going to be needed. We touched based on qualifications. He mentioned you need, first of all, to have good knowledge of networking, operating systems, and applications, etc. In general, you need to have a good understanding on that. You need to have a general understanding of cybersecurity, the threats, the landscape of attacks, etc. You need to have a general understanding of that, and then have a general understanding on concepts of how you can, protect different assets in the organizations. And then also we talked about certifications. Some of the important certifications based on his opinion was OSCP, EJPT, and CH, but there were more than that he mentioned, but I just wanted to point out those few. And then also just to quote him, he said, if you have an opportunity to do a certification, just do it. So guys, you have to, look out for those opportunities. His day, how it looks like, number one, most of the time he spends on doing research on the area of audits, also doing technical stuffs, which is a mix of pen testing, and also checking out the controls, how effective are they, and then looking at the risk and how to mitigate the risk in order to protect the organization and from a huger impact if a cyber attack happens. We also talked about CTFs. Well, he has a lot of pointers, and let me say good points anyway. But he mentioned that number one, you need to identify what you want to get from a CTF. Is it just going for fun and enjoying yourself? Or are you going to do CTFs for the purpose of learning? So you need to clearly define what you want to get from CTFs. Number two, you need to pick your platform very carefully. Not all platforms are going to be beneficial to you. Number three, once you start doing the CTFs, you need to, get into the let me say, the desire of wanting to dig deep. That's how he managed also, to gain the skills that he has up to date. And then finally, through that, you're going to find what you enjoy, if it's forensics or if it's reverse engineering, you're going to find out what you love to do more. How to get into his role. I'm sure some of you would like to be a manager one day. So number one, he said, just be consistent in what you do. Don't give up. And then finally, he said, demonstrate good skills. Some of the threats that he thinks organizations face nowadays, the biggest problem is insider, which I think I definitely agree with him. So insider is one of the largest threats. And then how does he stay up to date with this ever-evolving industry? Number one, he's a huge fan of Twitter. I guess you can get him in Twitter. And then he reads a lot of newsletters. He's in different WhatsApp groups. He's in GitHub. He checks for different CVEs in GitHub. He reads books and blogs, and then also he does different type of certifications in order to hone his skills. His final thoughts. Well, he said, cybersecurity is a very demanding career. That's very true. It's going to require you to put in the effort generally when it comes to cybersecurity. And then the landscape is always changing. So that's the threat landscape. That's what he meant. It's changing day to day, and it's never the same. So you need to be very vigilant to learn and grow your skills. And then he mentioned about you need to have the ability to adapt with the changes that are happening in the industry. And then finally, he said, keep on learning. So, Mr. Mike, I'd like to say thank you very much. I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot from you, your experience, your advice that you've given. It really means a lot to us. And I hope in the future, we are going to have more sessions with you where we're going to be talking about a different role, perhaps a CEO or, a founder. You never know. But thank you very much for sparing your time, for being with us here today. Guys, cheers. See you on the next episode. Bye-bye.